Morning. Let's get you up on the screen. Morning, Robert, Sandra, Stephen, Johnny, Rosie, David, Kirsty, Jan, Stuart, Alan, Alistair. Getting there, numbers are climbing nicely. Morning, folks. How are we all this morning? I hope we're all well. Hi, BJ, Harry, Nancy, Ian, Neil. Right, that's us up over 100, so let's get this broadcast underway. Indytruck Davy out the truck and at home in his office, Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast, 13 degrees, rain in the forecast. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. You want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look at your rain bloody windy. Alright, this is a new news review for the 8th of the 6th, 2022, or yesterday. Right, Wednesday started with one main theme and the rags. You got it, Bojo the Clown. Almost all the rags have him down as mortally wounded after Monday's confidence vote. Alright, now the Tory party's now at civil war with itself. The outbreak of peace won't happen till the Tories lose both by-elections this month and turn on the big dog Bojo the Clown. Bojo's got an act for messing things up and getting away with it, but I don't think he's getting away with it this time, folks. I reckon that after they lose these two by-elections this month, pressure will go on Sir Brady, the chair of the 1922 committee, to change the rules on how often a vote of no confidence can be held. Okay, but Bojo, you know, he's got a knack of hanging on for dear life and getting away with shit. He's been getting away with it all his life, so he's going to attempt to hang on. But we'll get a wee bit more of that as we go into the report. Okay, moving on. Wednesday here in Scotland started with the news that two offshore wind farms are to be connected to a new underwater interconnector in the waters of Fife. Alright, now the interconnector will supply power for 375,000 homes. The interconnector is supplying power to a land-based interconnector in East Lothian. Why East Lothian? Well, there was two power plants there. The interconnector for getting into the grid's already there, so run the undersea interconnector cable to the land interconnector at East Lothian, and that'll bring the power to shore. Okay, so more cheap energy being produced and sold to us at astronomical prices. Alright, so more power being generated by Scotland, more renewables being generated by Scotland. Electricity prices were still paying the highest in Europe, but that's a dividend of being in this unequal, unfair union. Right, moving on. Wednesday in Scotland, and the train drivers union ASLEF tells the public that talks with ScotRail are going well and that they hope to have a resolution to the issues by the end of this week. Right, the train drivers have knocked back an offer of 4.2% as a pay increase, but the dispute at the moment isn't about the 4.2%, it's about terms and conditions, I believe. Alright, now we're going to see a lot of industrial action in the public sector over the coming months, as anything less than a 10% pay rise at this point in time is actually a wage cut because of the rate of inflation. Alright, so right across the public sector expect a disruption, and it could be a hard year. It could be a hard year for services as we try to recover from the pandemic, as one sector in the public sector goes on strike after another, as they'll all be offered 2.2% pay rises, and as I've just pointed out, that's no pay rise at all. Right, moving on. Wednesday, and here in Scotland, the NHS is the SNP bad story. This time it's GP surgeries and the wait to see GPs. Now, GPs say they are as frustrated as their patients, as they are working flat out to get face-to-face consultation back to pre-pandemic levels. Okay. Now, during the pandemic, most GP appointments were telephone consultations. It took about a month to get a face-to-face with a GP. The health secretary, whom the Yusuf said yesterday on the propaganda machine, that things are getting better, with waiting times for a face-to-face consultation down from 4 weeks to 2 weeks. So an improving picture. Now there is a Davy says here, right? Waiting times to see GPs, it's a postcode lottery. It really is. Because I've heard some stories for you guys that would turn my hair even greyer. But there I've been telling you how Sarah and I just pick up the phone and go and see the bloody doctor. It's either poorly run GP practices elsewhere, or it's a postcode lottery, or they're doing things different for our surgery. Because we've never had a problem, but I understand the problems are there. So anyway, it's an improving picture in the GP's sector, but the GPs themselves are saying they're still being insulted, they're still being threatened with attack, and that they're as frustrated as the patients. Okay. Right, let's move on. Moving on Wednesday, and down that road in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers in the upper chamber, class traitor and wee pissy pants Lord Foulkes, the drunk, pleads with the Tories to sanction the Scottish Government for setting aside 20 million quid for Indy Rev 2. The Labour peer and wee class traitor and drunk wants Bojo the Clown to come up to Scotland to tell the First Minister off and tell her she can't spend 20 million quid on a referendum in the middle of a cost of living crisis. The wee pissy pants Lord Foulkes, Disney Day irony. His Imperial Masters have just blown £1 billion on a 4-day party for the Duchess of fucking Balmoral, while 4.3 million children go to bed hungry every night. And wee pissy pants thinks that's okay, but wee pissy pants doesn't think spending 20 million quid on a referendum which has been democratically mandated for by the people of Scotland. Wee pissy pants has been on a bevy too much. Somebody nip along to wee pissy pants place over there and drop him in some incontinence pants. Wee drunken arsehole. Anyway, Bojo's no coming to Scotland ever again. Last time he went to Butte House, he had to exit with a back door. Now they're booing him like hell down in England everywhere he goes right now. What do you think would happen if he goes back to Edinburgh? They'd be get pelted with eggs as if he was a Maggie Thatcher fucking statue. Wow. Right, moving on. Wednesday. And another day of record-breaking fuel costs as the price of a litre of petrol hits £2 and 2 pence. Wow. Per litre. Or £9 and 9 pence a gallon. Tell you what, the climate activists are going cock-a-hoop. Because nobody's going anywhere in motor cars very soon. So, emissions are tumbling. So, might not be good for Davy's pocket, but it's definitely good for the planet. Right, moving on. Wednesday. Lunchtime rolls around, and Bojo the Clown faces MPs at Prime Minister's questions. First to have a go was a hapless Starmer. Bojo's in a weakened position, but rather than deliver a knockout blow, Starmer gives Bojo a bye. Right. Anywho, Starmer went on NHS waiting times for cancer care. Starmer rabbits on about waiting times, and then he goes on to the NHS estate down that road, which has fallen to pieces. I've already spoken to you about this. I drove David Milligan 500 miles to get a hospital because the hospital in Bristol was that much shite state, I wouldn't take him in there. Anyway, Starmer goes on the hospital estate. But what Starmer really did was give Bojo an opening to be his usual bombastic self. So Bojo comes back with, we are making record investments in the NHS. We're building 40 new hospitals, pish. Right? All that crap. Anyway, and then he goes on to his, Starmer comes back and says, what are you talking about? Repairing hospitals is no building them. And as for your record investment, it's only making up for what you cut out the NHS to start with. But it gives Bojo the chance once again to come back with his usual bombastic pish. So much for learning lessons in contrition, eh? We'll get a wee bit more of that though. Bojo comes back with fastest rollout of vaccine in Europe. First to get them vaccines into people's arms in Europe. Fastest growing economy bollocks. Lowest unemployment bollocks. Wow! The lies were bouncing off the rafters as if it had never been an issue for Bojo lying out at Partygate and the vote of no confidence. You wouldn't have thought the cunt had his bahookie kicked at all. Pardon my French, sir. because it really is frustrating watching this guy. Anyway, so Starmer gives Bojo a bye, and Bojo's back to his usual bombastic self, and that was until Ian Blackford got up, and Blackford he rapped the clown a new behookie. Right, he called Bojo a lame duck PM, with 41% of his MPs wanting him gone, 90% of the MPs in the Commons want him gone, and 97% of Scottish MPs want him gone. And then Blackford says to him, "For Christ's sake, man, just go." Bojo replied, he intends to bash on as PM. Right, so Bojo's not going anywhere. But that brings us to the next segment, or the next story that I want to pull out. Right, and that is Bojo tells the press that no one, wait a minute, I'll bring a story up. That'll be the easiest way to do it, I think. Bojo says that no one and nobody will stop him from being PM or carrying on as PM. Now, that's a direct quote from Bojo. We're going down the line of dictatorship here. No one will stop him being PM. No one. Meaning he doesn't give a damn. He'll change the rules so that his MPs can't boot him out of office. He'll change the rules so that there can't be a call an election unless he calls it. We're right into the dictator territory here. And it looks like Bojo's bedding in. And he's quite willing to change laws and everything else to stop anybody from ousting him. Don't be surprised if a new general election never happens. Yeah. Anyway, Bojo says to Blackford that he's bashing on to deliver for the British people, whoever that is, and whatever the hell that means. But I dread to think actually what that means. You know, 1 in 4 children go to bed hungry, families deciding on heating and eating, parents skipping meals and living on the leftovers of their children, off their children's plates, pensioners riding buses to keep warm, and don't get me started on Brexit. If this is Bojo delivering for the British people, God bloody help them, whoever the hell they are. Because he's certainly not delivering for the Scots, the English, the Welsh, or the Northern Irish. If he's delivering for the 600,000 cuckoos in the nest here in Scotland, or in Northern Ireland, then I haven't seen any bloody witness of it. Because there's not that many people in the UK call themselves British. Except for the bam-pot knuckle draggers. Right, so if that's Bojo delivering for the British people, and he's telling the so-called British people, whoever the hell they are, that he'll not be getting put out of office. Interesting times we're in right enough, right? Moving on Wednesday. And the latest harebrained idea to come from Bojo the clown in the circus is to get public back on side, is to let benefit claimants use their benefits to buy their homes. What? 73 quid a week is unemployment benefit, or 93 quid a week is unemployment benefit. They're supposed to be able to buy their houses. Has Bojo forgot about 2008 and the subprime mortgage carry-on, which brought down the financial sector? Well, no, actually, I don't think he will have. Because his Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, was one of the architects, along with Savage Javid, of the financial collapse of 2008. Could it be that Bojo, Rishi, and Savage Javid are about to pull the same stunt on taxpayers? Huh? We could well be buying back the housing stock for the banks. What a harebrained, crazy idea this is. But you've got to remember who it was that architected the subprime mortgage situation in 2008, which led to the financial crash and the run on some of the banks. It was Javid, it was Rishi Sunak, and they all get wealthy out of it. Are they about to try and pull the same stunt on the taxpayer as they pulled on the banks? It's a bloody good question, that one. Right, moving on. Wednesday, and the RMT announces real disruption and strike action between the 21st to the 26th of June. Now, the strikes will take place randomly across the UK on different days, creating as much disruption as possible without actually going on a full-on national strike. Okay, So there will be travel misery for millions. What's the strike about? Well, same as it always is. Paying conditions as usual, right? So anyway, well, Bojo and his, Bojo and his clowns did create a cost of living crisis, so nobody's going to accept 2.2, 2.3%. In order to break even, you need a 10% pay rise. In order to be able to bust inflation, you need a 12% pay rise. So, as I've already said in this report, expect industrial action regularly. Right, moving on, Wednesday. And U-Turn Ross is given airtime on the BBC Radio Pravda and on the television to tell us Scots that he thinks Bojo should now think about resigning. After the confidence vote. Wow, what a spanner Dross is. Dross will be gone before Bojo the clown is, because the Scottish Tories here, if they've got any plans on remaining in a political party in Scotland, then it'll be the night of long nights for wee Drossy. Dross is even, this is the interesting bit, Dross is even more unpopular in Scotland than Bojo the clown himself, according to the latest polling ratings. Wow. So if the Tories want to survive, wee Dross is going to need more than pet radio and pet TV channels. They're going to need a lot of money to spread around the Tory MSPs to keep them in place, alright? And moving on, finally for Wednesday, teachers in Dundee to stage a one-day strike over changes to department heads. Tayside Council want to do away with department heads and introduce a faculty-style system. Whatever the hell that is. Alright. Now, anywho, apparently, faculty-style systems is widely in place in Scotland and benefits the children immensely, according to Dundee Council. Davy says, I've never heard of it. Any of you guys heard about it? A faculty-style system instead of department heads. What the hell does that mean? I haven't got a Scooby. Any of you people know what that means? Stick it in the comments for me. But what I will say is, there is going to be a summer and probably a winter of discontent. There's going to be strikes left, right and centre. Something like that. Right, that's what I've got for you. Let's go into this morning and see what the rags have to say this morning, shall we? Right, let's move you out the road of the rags. We can come in at an angle now. Right, the Times has Johnson to let benefit claimants buy homes. There you go. Lunatics are running the asylum. Right, the Scotsman has cost of living say policy blitz as Johnson battles to move on. A lot of bollocks. Never heard so much crap in all your life. The Looney Rag, the Express has. Now that is a promise. PM vows to slash bills. I heard that. Petrol's just hit £9.09 a gallon. Slash bills, eh? People can't even afford to get to work, for Christ's sake. The Herald has cancer patients facing longest waits for life-saving diagnosis. Study predicts 30% shortfall in radiologists. Forecasts within the next 4 years. Well, it takes a wee while to train radiologists, and nobody's coming into it. But this will be on the back of Starmer having a go at Bojo down the road. So the Herald's jumped on board. Right, the Daily Telegraph has pricing of filling up the average car hits 100. No, actually a wee bit more than that now. And the wave of strikes will trigger summer of discontent. Well, we've just spoke about that, haven't we? Doesn't need one of these stupid rags to tell us what's in front of our eyes. We can all see it. Right, the other right-wing loony rag, the Daily Fail has get a sick note from chemists. Chemists are going to start issuing sick lines if you're getting in there for minor ailments. Alright. The Eye has rail strike, passengers face 6-day shutdown. Just spoke about that as well. And the National has it's more than a flesh wound, and that's on Blackford's attack on Bojo in the Commons yesterday. Blackford compared Bojo to the Black Knight in Monty Python, where he gets his arm chopped off, says just a flesh wound, gets his legs chopped off, says just a flesh wound, gets his arm chopped off, just a flesh wound. You know, well, that's what Blackford compared Bojo to. Right, and the other headline is Scott Stories bid to cancel Indy 2 fails. So, you know, see, wee George Folks was telling in the upper chamber yesterday when he was making his claim. that Bojo should sanction the Scottish Government and prevent them from holding in the Ref 2 in the middle of the cost of living crisis. He was told, mind your own business. That's a devolved matter. There's nothing they can do to stop this from going ahead, and the truth's slowly sinking into people's heads here. All these buffoons, unionists who've been on about saying you can't do it without our permission, you can't do it without our permission. Well, slowly but surely it's coming out that we can do what the hell we bloody well want. And we don't need their permission. Like the legal advice that just came out yesterday, or Tuesday, yesterday, for the Scottish Government, being told, go ahead and go for Indy 2, nothing we can do to stop you. We folksy, being told in the House of Lords, shut down you idiot, that's to do with the people of Scotland, nothing to do with us. Man, mental. Right, the record has Scott Star caught up in Berlin terror. Doctor Who actor Barrowman hides behind tree as car driver ploughs into crowds on Shopping Street in German capital. I thought Barrowman was a Canadian. Or maybe he just lived there for a long time. Right, and what's the Star got for us a day? No doubt it's got something absolutely bloody stupid. It has. The Daily Star of Scotland has anxious archaeology students warned they might see old bones. I want my mummy. And it's a picture of a mummified corpse. And according to the Star, archaeology students are feared of bones. Star's boffins are brilliant, and they can make anything up at a drop of a hat. They're almost as good as Bojo the Clown. Right, that's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you found it interesting, I hope you found it entertaining, and I hope you found it informative. Right, the usual stuff. No elections on, so put your party and politics in your pockets, keep your eyes on your prize, learn your how you gonies, and get out there and win hearts and minds now. As you know, David and I will be going live one way or another at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we're going to embark on a series of how you gonies. He's going to play devil advocate, and I'm going to answer the questions. Apparently, we'll see how that goes. So 4 o'clock on my timeline, the two Davies will be shooting the sugar. Alright, I better cut down the swearing a bit. We'll be shooting the sugar. I hope you guys come to join us. Alright, right, support the independent media, support Broadcasting Scotland, Independence Live, Caldon Media, independent bloggers and bloggers. And if they've got a crowdfunder going and you've got a spare shekel, which is highly unlikely, at £9.09 for a gallon of petrol. It's hilarious. We're one of the biggest oil and gas producers in the world and we can't afford petrol for our cars. That's comedy gold! Absolute comedy gold. Anyway, I better get a shifty on. She'll be wanting to get to work. Right, anyway. So if you've got a spare shekel, throw them in the pots. Help medicine. Follow the guidance. There's only 2 bits of guidance left. Face coverings in closed public spaces and clean hands and surfaces regularly. When it comes to social distancing, use your napper. And if you're testing, please send your test results to NHS Scotland to keep an eye on what's going on with COVID in the community. Okay, you guys have a great day and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye then out.